But okay, we're back. We have our game as the Empire versus the Beastmen. Since Beastmen do like to rush, we've got mostly skirmishers with only a couple units to protect. There'll be a backline of knights to give them support. And of course, we will have many spears at the ready to throw their lives away so that our archers can continue shooting. Volkmar is here too, with a nice leadership bomb from our Shadowcaster. We've taken the Withering to give -8 leadership in an AoE, and hopefully we'll be able to get some terror routes. So there we go. Our skirmishers also have grenade launchers, which is pretty fun. And that's about it. That's our build. Let's see here. So our knights can go on 2. And you know what? I feel like knights on 3 is sort of what I like more. Archers on 2. That makes more sense to me. So good luck, have fun to our opponent. Yeah, so now Marcy asking about best missile spam answer. You could also just go for a rush. Plotting Leviathans are a very good option. So yeah, something you could try out. Just because missile spam usually doesn't have a ton of AP. So yeah, those are my recommendations. Now, this game's actually getting underway pretty quickly, but it's fine. I didn't have much else to talk about. So we're going to start off with some good old cycle charging. Our huntsmen are going to be firing in on the skirmish cavalry, and we also probably want to throw down some big old pendulums. Let's see here. There's some archers back here that we can pick off. So pendulum there to do us just fine. Our backline doesn't need to be so close to the spearmen. At this point, it feels like they even need to defend our front line, so we're going to pull them into position. But some dogs are coming in that we'll have to worry about. Let's see. And thankfully, we pulled back some cavalry to actually help out there. When you actually cycle charge in and out of your lines, it makes it so that your cavalry just by happenstance is ready to defend your backline. So that actually worked out pretty well for us, almost accidentally. And now I think we're in a really good position. Volkmar is just constantly routing that front line. Our huntsmen get compromised for a bit, but they're mostly keeping it together. But Moger is coming up, and we'll have to make sure that he doesn't whoops. We'll have to make sure that Moger doesn't trap Volkmar or anything. I also really want to make sure that our caster stays safe. We'll pull him out of this madness over here. And our knights, they need to probably shut down those archers. So let's bring them around and see what they can do. These Ungor Raiders can eat a pendulum. They're the hardest ones to actually get to, which is why I'm using my magic to shut them down. And Volkmar, I think he can probably rout off this Razorgore herd. If only we had our terror leadership debuff there, we could actually ensure that, but it doesn't matter. Volkmar actually routs them all by himself. So that's very good. Let's see, our knights are still doing very well, but I think I lost track of one of my knights. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, I didn't. There's just one in my backline. Very important to keep an eye on your cavalry, just so that you don't lose them. Let's see here. Ooh, I'm actually seeing there's a pretty nice opportunity to pick off this chariot over here. So we'll turn one of our huntsmen to fire towards them and bring in our pistols too. And that should take them out. See, Volkmar can now happily fight Moger. Even with the Chaos Spawn summon, we have our spearmen to assist. And he won't take too much damage from them at this point. Our huntsmen are still operational too, which is very helpful. Although one gets charged by Centaurs, not before they get quite a bit of damage off though. So those Centaurs should be running. This guy on the chariot should also be down soon. We don't even need to debuff his leadership for that. And we're about at army losses, so we can start going over how I feel the game went. I think a lot of it just came down to our cavalry really being able to carry, but maybe I've spoken too soon. Balance of power has swung back in the Beastmen's favor, but that is a lot of that is because of the 2 Chaos Spawn summons. I expect it'll go down in just a second. I also completely forgot that Volkmar has a Vortex spell. So, yeah, that's a pretty big misplay. But, it wasn't required. In fact, I forgot about most of his buffs. But yeah, it just goes to show how much of this game came down to our actual cycle charging with the cavalry. You can see they're actually all still alive, and yeah, I think they did pretty good. But did I speak too soon? Our opponent is holding on tight, but with army losses, I think we're good to go. Nice. So Mogur's gone. We just gotta kill off these Chaos Spawn. So many Pistoliers. Yeah, we brought 3, but it is Empire, and Pistoliers are among the best skirmishers in the game. Okay, nice. There we go. A victory for us. Hey, Ben the Barman. Nice to see you. Yeah, I think if you had Minotaurs, things could have been a bit scarier. We had a bunch of guns to support, so we wouldn't really know that future. I think his backline also took a little while to engage. When you're playing rush factions, you'll want to engage at about the same time with all your units. Now, let's just do a quick check on the value of these guys. It looks like my predictions were correct. Our knights about paid for themselves, but with beastmen, they're actually routing units. And the huntsmen more than paid for themselves by a long shot. In fact, everything basically paying for themselves means that you're in a pretty good place. Except for Volkmar. But, cool. So our next game is Vampire Counts against Chaos. Our opponent appears to be going for some sort of blob build with few units and readying up extremely quickly. However, we're pretty ready for that since we have some anti-skirmish in case he went for that, which he didn't. But more importantly, we have a Mortis engine and a Blood Dragon Vampire Lord for a lot of cycle charging. Our opponent has opted for many Chaos Warrior Halberds, a unit of Aspiring Champions, an Exalted Hero Archaon, and a Dragon Ogre Shaggoth. I'm not entirely sure where most of his money went to, because there we go. This army seemed a little bit thin. So, we are actually seeing some Marauder Horsemen from my opponent here. Although it is only 2, so this army still feels a little bit small for what you'd expect. We're going to loop around our Chillgeists so that they can catch the Horsemen when they pull through their infantry lines. And then, yeah, then we should be good. They do get some Javelins off, hitting my Lord, which even though we have healing and regeneration, it's something that we want to be avoiding as much as possible, since we do expect him to heal cap this game. And all we want to do is just continue our slow march towards the Chaos player, cycle charging where we can, and shutting down these Marauder Horsemen. Oh, some magic damage comes in on from Archaon. Means that we'll have to pull away. And we've actually spotted some Chaos Warhounds here, which is interesting. We also overstayed with our Blood Knights. They took a lot of damage there. And now the engagement gets underway. So, we can begin the breath attack here to shut down a ton of halberds. And our Blood Knights will happily face off against the Warhounds. Our Sternsmen, I think, are happy fighting Chaos Warrior halberds, so we'll leave them to that. And these halberds here will want to shut down with our... We'll want to shut them down with our zombies. Our Lord has taken quite a bit of damage, from javelins, so we'll have to be careful there. A burning head's coming down too on top of my Stearnsmen, which is a bit unfortunate, but it hits mostly zombies, so I think that's fine. See our Blood Knights now. I think they want to move in here so that we can get an overcast Nahek. And then from there, I think we'll be just about good. There's actually very few chaos units here to threaten us. So we're sort of just happy taking these really nice engagements, especially with the inclusion of those warhounds. I feel like there's just not a whole ton for us to worry about. The warhounds are not especially scary versus the vampire counts, and that's because they it's because warhounds will generally route to undead units. They're nice versus unarmored troops, and especially routing troops, which obviously can be a little bit of a problem when your units don't route. But an even bigger problem is when your game crashes entirely. So unfortunately, it looks like that's a game for us. And we'll have to restart by the looks of it. Yep. Okay, so we recovered from our crash. Sadly, it was indeed a loss, but we're back in it again with Empire against Norska. We have a nice defensive sort of box-ish formation build here with a whole ton of halberdiers and spearmen. The halberdiers are great versus Fimir. The spearmen will hold against skin wolves. And with this much infantry, I don't expect Norska to be able to actually dive in on top of me. Let's see here. We'll put alternating lines of halberds and spearmen, with halberds in front since they will more likely be needed, and spearmen on the frontmost line, since we don't want our halberdiers to take the brunt of the initial damage. There we go, 10 units of infantry. We got 3 handgunners for their damage. If Wolfric decides to just charge in recklessly, these guys will be able to put some pain onto him. Some pistoliers will help skirmish and keep our opponent busy. And yeah, our Empire Knights too can countercharge. Any skin wolves come our way. Okay, nice. Yeah, we got the friends. He has tons of damage. It's a pretty basic Empire build, I gotta say. But up against Norska, I'm pretty confident about it. They could bring a whole ton of AoEs, but we can be fast enough on our feet to actually dodge that. Just gotta pay attention. Ben, you're saying you like Huntsman here more. Yeah, they do have anti-large, but it's just I've seen a lot of players opt for the handgunners. I'm not sure exactly why, but yeah, it's just what I've seen. So the game starts off with a huge Norskin force of skirmishers here. They're charging up, moving in towards my pistoliers, but we can dodge their javelins while we fire our pistols into them. And they even get in handgunner range, taking a lot of damage. So that was a really nice skirmishing phase. Ooh, there's some hounds actually coming in. Oh, whoops. Oh god, halt, man. Okay, so I accidentally just march all of my troops out of formation. A little bit unfortunate, and in the chaos we actually have our pistoliers get caught. So a little bit unfortunate there, but I think we're recovering. Ooh, a boat comes in on my handgunners too. We actually missed the sound cue for that. And things are looking a little bit sketchy. Some Fimir are now coming in. And these the Marauder javelins are actually rushing into melee. Now they are pretty good in melee, but against Empire Knights and Halberdiers, they're going to have a rough time. Let's see what are these? Fimirs on the outskirts are waiting to get a good engagement. A little bit scary. And now they're actually moving in, heading in towards my knights. These marauders are coming in too. And Wolfric actually looking like he wants to dive in onto my caster, so we'll bring him away. And now that our backline is mostly safe, I think we're going to be bringing in our infantry to try and what's it? We're going to be using our infantry to try and block these handgunners to keep them safe, because those Fimir are coming in hot. Instead, though, they're opting in for Franz, which does give our handguns a bit of time to fire some more. But it puts Franz in a little bit of danger. Wolfric is routing, which is good. But can we actually chase him off? That's what we're positioning to do now. Franz has better things to do than to chase Wolfric, though. And I think it's better if he goes for... what's it? Franz goes for the caster instead. Meanwhile, our pistoliers will be chasing Wolfric. And hopefully they can get him, but no, he comes back at the last second, which is a little bit unfortunate there. Our halberdiers, however, are holding up pretty well. Let's see, against marauders. So they're not exactly trading up, but that's basically the main job that they want to be doing. So if they break even with marauders, I think that's a win for me. But I am, at this point, sort of worried about our handgun line. Things are getting really tight in this formation here. But our just hordes and hordes of spearmen are proving to be doing at least okay here. It is too bad that we did lose our... we lost our knights in the midst of the fighting, and it would have been much better if I had actually healed them throughout the battle instead of my infantry. So that's something to work on in the future. But we'll have to move on and instead decide what are the ways we might lose this game. There is a strong force of Fimir left, just normal Fimir warriors. And we wouldn't really want France to be fighting them, so we're going to use our handgunners, try and shoot them down. Let's see, a lot of the Norscan infantry is gone at least. And the actual javelins are pretty low, which actually gives me the idea. If we shoot the javelins instead, things may be better, since the javelins are the main pressure for Franz. And once they're down, it means Franz will be able to cycle charge to his heart's content. I say that phrase a lot, whatever. Yeah, he'll be able to cycle charge a lot. Ooh, nice. A nice dive in through my lines with these Marauder horsemen. Shut down my handguns. But it looks like that's actually going to be the only thing that they do. So it can actually be a bait, leaving in small gaps like that. And that's because your spearmen can instantly collapse in on top of whatever is trying to get in the center. And then you can see there, my handgunners actually took very little damage, and the Marauder horsemen routed instantly. Usually, if you want to prevent that from happening, you need some sort of frontline engagement, so that if they do pull in their spears or halberds, they'll be breaking their front line up. So in this case, just charging in through the gaps as a suicide mission turned out pretty badly. Wolfric should be off the map at about this point, and with Franz coming in, he should be able to terrify the last of the Norscan forces. The GG. Yeah, it worked out pretty well. Our hordes of infantry strategy is good because if you look at the Norscan front line, it was just 4 marauders, which trade into, like, let's say just our halberdiers. And after that happens, the rest of their army is very inefficient versus this many spearmen. So we just managed to get a whole ton of good trades for the rest of the game. So our next game, we're up against Lizardmen as the vampire counts. We brought Gorst just because of a viewer request, but that doesn't mean that we're going to be that we're not going to be trying hard. We have a whole ton of single entity killers to make up for the lack of a Dragon Lord. And my usual bread and butter Vampire Counts infantry line. It's a little bit... there's nothing really special about this front line of zombies and a Stormsman unit. It's mostly just because we haven't practiced the nuance enough to really know what front line we want to bring. There's some bats too to deal with pterodons, and knights to cycle charge any Saurus or other infantry. For our opponent, he has brought a Dreadsaurian, indeed some pterodon riders, and loads of healing. Let's see, who's this? A Croxagore Ancient, which is actually interesting. I'm not sure why you'd bring that. And a Skink Priest of Beasts. So Manticore summons 2. So we'll have to be a little bit worried about getting sniped out. And we'll have to play keep away from the Dreadsaurian. These Pterodon Riders too are a little bit scary. They can get in a lot of damage. Okay. And interesting. Actually a what's it? Yeah, a Flock of Doom comes down early. And I would question that from our opponent. Gorst is he has a constant healing effect. And if you look at these zombies, they should be getting topped up from that Flock of Doom. So we've actually traded pretty effectively just at the start of the game because of that. And now we're even able to shut down these Pterodon Riders. We have our bats on top of them. And they don't have a whole ton to actually fight back. In fact, they're actually the Fire Leech Bowler variant. Which against Blood Knights aren't super scary. So I would question my opponent's build a bit. But we'll have to see. We haven't seen... maybe we haven't faced the full effectiveness of the build yet. He's continuing to throw down magic too. Which once again I would not recommend. Because we do have that AoE healing from Gorst. Let's see. Meanwhile, our bats are winning the fight against the Pterodon Riders. The Skink Priest will help out here, though, which could be a little bit of a problem. But, yeah, if we really need to, we can just throw down some healing, and we'll be just fine. I also forgot the Dreadsaurian does have a ranged attack, which actually does do a bit of damage, so we'll have to be careful there. And we have to see how we want to take this engagement here. First things first, though, I will heal up my bats just to ensure that we'll kill those Pterodons. It might be a little bit of a waste of our Winds of Magic. We'll have to see. When another Flock of Doom comes down. So we'll negate that with good old Gorst. We're completely fine with that situation. And yeah, as soon as those Pterodon Riders are gone, which they are now, we can begin our slow advance. And then I think we'll be good. We've secured a very nice starting lead. Our Vargulfs are still very healthy. And their priority target is going to be these Croxagores and the Revivification Crystal. One of my Vargulfs actually getting stuck on some Crypt Horrors is a little bit unfortunate there. But okay, fighting should begin now. Dreadsaurian does not have magic damage, so our Banshees will dive straight for that. And we can just leave our zombies in the front line. Get in a ton of damage. See, Crypt Horrors want to be fighting those Sacred Croxagores. And the Dreadsaurian's actually going in for a mad dive on Gorst. So, this is actually an opportunity for us to just rush in and try and take it out. Meanwhile, we'll throw in a Wind of Death. Hopefully our opponent doesn't notice. And we were actually a little bit slow on the draw with our cavalry. Our Wind of Death does magnificently. And Gorst can just move in now and finish off the rest of the infantry here. Meanwhile, our cavalry can move in onto the back line. Gorst is safe. And the Dreadsaurian is caught in a very bad position. It went a little bit ham. Dived in a little bit too deep, but its crazy mass will actually let it escape. And the Croxagore Ancient can actually put in some damage on Gorst, so we'll have to be a bit careful here. Maybe we'll summon a unit of Graveguard, but maybe we also don't have to. I guess we'll try to save our Winds of Magic in case we need to use Nahek. And now that our bats have chased off the Pterodon Riders, we can use them to chase off all of these skinks. Proxigor Ancient, not doing that well against Gorst, surprisingly. And the Dread Saurian is going to have a hard time versus these Banshees and Vargulfs. There we go, tons of skinks are running now. We can chase them off with our Blood Knights. And you know what? The Revivification Crystal can't actually out-heal our damage on the Dread Saurian. So, we're just fine going for the Dread Saurian and ignoring the crystal. Meanwhile, Gorse will continue to dance around, trying to stay in combat where he can just for the Mortis Engine effect. And then I think we should be good. We won't be overcasting the heck here, just to ensure that the game doesn't crash again. And then yeah, we just have to carry it out to a win. The Banshees can move in on the Dread Saurian. And yeah, there's not much for the Lizardmen to do. In fact, we could leave the computer right now if we wanted to, and we'd probably get a win. He is sticking in it, though. And the Dread Saurian actually took a while to go down, so maybe we should have killed the Revivification Crystal instead. But it doesn't really matter. You know what? Yeah, really the hardest part here is continuing to commentate while we sit and watch the biggest blob fight ever. Because honestly, there's not a lot going on. There's not a lot you can even do to really increase your damage there. Aside from some cycle charging, especially with the Blood Knights. But it really wasn't worth my effort, I gotta say, at that point. So we don't need to spend a whole lot of time looking at this end screen, since I think I got about most of my thoughts out of the way during the game. But we can look at some damage value stats. For example, Gorst was the only unit that paid for himself in the entire Vampire Count's army. So clearly, he is OP, and there's no other explanation. But okay, so next game, Empire versus High Elves. We brought the usual loadout, with a few surprises. Great swords, because they're really good versus rangers. And our cavalry force this time is very elite with 2 Empire Knights. Our skirmishers are great, just pistoliers are good in basically every matchup. And that's it. Relatively small Empire force facing off against a relatively small High Elf force. So we'll see how that goes. Let's see, a dragon at like 20 speed, possibly be even worse. Yeah. Are you talking about like a dragon at the speed of a corpse card or something? Give Gorst a dragon summon, easy fix. Yep. Oh man, if Gorst could be on a dragon, even if it was at 20 speed, that might actually be okay. Imagine this, right? You take Gorst, he can be on a dragon, but it's at 20 speed with the Mortis Engine effect. Is that OP? Or is that the worst thing ever? I'm inclined to think it's probably the worst thing ever. Because speed is king in this game. But you never know. Never know. Maybe that's the new meta. But okay, enough speculation. We got Tyrion. Another good fighter, but against Karl Franz, he'll have a rough time. In the center, we see Sisters of Averlorn. A little bit scary, but we negate most of their damage against our pistoliers. So instead, let's see, we really don't want the pistoliers to take too much damage, and we want them to start putting pressure on the back line. Same with our Demogryph Knights. So we're going to see if we can do that. Let's see, Demogryph Knights, come on, get to the flank. Pistoliers too. And we just don't want to die to the Sisters of Averlorn, so let's keep pulling back with our infantry. And set up for a proper engagement against the High Elves. Let's see, what do they have? They really only have silver helms for their cavalry, and a unit of Phoenix Guard in the back for defense, along with some White Lions. Their flanks are Lothern Sea Guard, which will be pretty scary. We can't charge directly into them. So you know what? I'm sort of feeling like whoopsie daisies. We don't want to do that. I'm feeling like we want to get our handgunners and have them just shoot the Sisters of Avalorn to death. So let's march up aggressively and see if we can get that to happen. Meanwhile, our cavalry will move in along from the sides, support. And yeah, we'll see how that goes. Sisters of Avalorn are focusing the correct target of my great swords. Could be pretty bad. Franz, however, could actually dive straight onto them, and he wouldn't be too afraid, since there is only a spellcaster of life here. And our handgunners are now in range, so they're going to start shooting the Phoenix Guard instead. And we're going to see if we can shut down these Lothern Sea Guard. See, so meanwhile, Franz will just be in the thick of it. He is a very good fighter. So even against all those forces, he's sort of just happy taking the fight there. Yeah, he's stuck in he's fighting Tyrion too, but it is Franz. And with his speed, yep, he's able to take off. So even though that was a little bit of an ineffective trade for Franz, it was good because he could shut down the Sisters of Avalorn. Let's see. Meanwhile, we're doing okay. Shutting down the the range units of the High Elves. Both Lothern Sea Guard are shut down, and the Sisters of Avalorn. Wait, are these sisters? No, wait, yes they are. They're the ROR Sisters of Avalorn too. But yeah, so they're getting shut down. And now that the cavalry's occupied, I think there's nothing really stopping our Demogryph Knights from getting a lot of value here, so they're just going to charge in. Our handguns are in a little bit of a strange position though. Yeah, our handguns can't actually get a nice line of fire due to these hills, but they can on these rangers, so we'll send them to go ahead and do that. Franz will move in now to deal with this Mage of Life, and with two Demogryphs running around, I don't think my opponent here has enough to actually protect everything. So I'm specifically splitting up my Demogryph Knights because my opponent only really has Tyrion and this unit of Phoenix Guard to defend things. So by splitting up, it means that at least one of my units will be able to get their value. Let's see. So Franz can continue charging in on that Mage of Life. We'll bring in these Demogryphs to shut down the Sisters of Avalorn. And we get a nice pick here with the Rangers. Some very good crossfire. Should get them to rout pretty soon. Meanwhile, the Pistoliers are finishing off the High Elf Cavalry here. And with the big charge from these Demogryphs, I think we've secured our win. There is still the big problem of all of these elite High Elf units and Tyrion. So it's very important that we keep Franz alive in all of this. We also really want something to deal with with these ROR Phoenix Guard, and our solution to that is either late game cycle charging or our handgunners. In fact, I think our handgunners are one of our highest priorities at this point. So we're going to be keeping them alive by using Franz to try and keep Tyrion away from them. They've managed to take out the Sisters of Avalorn, which is good, but we still need them for the Phoenix Guard. Franz is now engaged on Tyrion. With his buffs, I think he should be able to do okay. We'll have to see. But I'm mostly just happy that our handgunners are safe. So we also have to start thinking about where we're putting down our heals. We'll put some here just to ensure that that Tyrion goes down. Sisters of Avalorn have been stopped too. And now we can finally deal with our goal of killing the Phoenix Guard, since they should be about the last threat. Our Pistoliers are at the ready to chase off Tyrion too as soon as he breaks. But he's holding fairly well. Let's see here. However, we do get a nice group up to actually stop him from running and throw down a heal at the same time. But man, he's just refusing to rout. Come on, Tyrion. Let's see here. Also, we get some nice shots in the back of the Phoenix Guard here, but they've properly disengaged from my Sigmar Sons. But with 3 handgunners, we can do a nice kiting strat here, just manually splitting them up, and then target firing whichever unit of Phoenix Guard. Yeah, we can target the Phoenix Guard with the handgunners that aren't being chased, and with that crossfire, we get a nice win. Specifically on that strategy, by the way, you need to make sure you have skirmish mode off if you want to do it, since it gives you much stronger control of your guns. Okay, so sick. Let's see here. I think a lot of that came to just some good engagements just all around. And specifically making sure that the Sisters of Avalorn didn't kill our Demogryph Knights. They got a lot of value there. So did our handguns, but yeah, there wasn't a single winner with this Empire army, and I guess that's about how they're supposed to play. So once again, we're playing Vampire Counts against Lizardmen, and we brought a similar army to last time, except this time, instead of Blood Knights and Black Knights, we've just brought the Varix Reavers with the smallest text you could possibly imagine. These guys are like your usual knights, except they have regeneration, which is great if you don't want to be spamming heals into them. We also have an extra unit of Crypt Horrors that we had last time, just to give us a little bit of mass. And they'll also do quite a bit of damage to Saurus Warriors. Our second line consists of Skeleton Spears and the Sternsmen, pretty standard, and of course a front line of zombies. Kill monsters, we have Banshees and Vargulfs, which will be really hard to take down for the Lizardmen. I'll want to see what he decides to bring there. Now, speaking of the Lizardmen, there is a Solar Engine, which will do pretty well versus our poor, basically everything in this army. But it's not the best fighter itself. So we'll bring our Banshees over to flank around and try to take it out. And ignore the Dread Saurian probably for most of the game. So we might even be able to deny flank here. But the Vampire Counts are rather slow. So it might just be better to send in our zombies instead. So as the fight gets going, I can immediately predict some of these forces to get pulled in to defend the Solar Engine. So we're going to send in our bats to engage those Saurus Warriors and try to pin them down so that they can't move in and support. There we go. Our large overload here is doing well. Our Crypt Horrors can begin cycle charging. And our bats look like they actually engaged the wrong target there, but not too much of a problem. They can now double back and stall out those Saurus Warriors. And there we go. We get a nice big old charge onto the Solar Engine. And we can use our other unit of bats as blockers. This is, yeah, this should be a pretty efficient usage of them, since there aren't any flying units here. And yeah, I'm very happy with our bat usage. Now, the Dread Saurian is repositioning a bit. So it's something we'll have to constantly be aware of. And specifically in the frontline fight, we want to keep our Crypt Horrors away from it. Let's see, Gorst, meanwhile, will definitely want to stay away too, since he's a little bit exposed here. And it looks like we're doing an okay job at that. We're sending in our lines one at a time to make sure that we stall as long as possible, since time is the Vampire Count's best friend. Because it lets you cycle charge as much as possible. So there we go. And our Crypt Horrors too will be cycle charging the front line. A big banishment comes down though, which is a little bit scary. But hopefully, with all the chaos going on, we'll be able to get a nice Wind of Death on these Saurus Warriors. Skinks do pull back, and the Saurus Warriors too, but they still get hit pretty hard, so I'm happy with that Wind of Death. Gorst has also won us our right flank. And now, with our many single entities, I think we're almost in a nice place to engage the Dread Saurian. There are still quite a few Saurus... There's quite a few Saurus warriors here, though. But I actually have a pretty fun idea here. We can actually secure ourselves, an almost guaranteed Winds of Death on them. By pinning them down like so with our knights. And then using the Wind of Death so they can't actually pull away. So now that they're actually stuck, they actually pull through my troops. But they still take a huge hit. And I think that was probably worth it. And it could actually pay off here. Many of them are routing now, which is great. And our Black Knights, having done their work, can pull away from that blob. It's pretty dangerous there with all those anti-large units. Then I think we'll be set. Although we didn't manage to rout the Star Chamber Guardians, which was what I was really hoping for. So that's a little bit unfortunate. Ooh, and our Banshees too are taking a lot of damage from the Slann. We'll have to be careful not to die there. Okay, so let's take stock of the situation. These Star Chamber Guardians are on the verge of routing. We're going to do what we can to actually break them off. And we really want to pin them down for another Wind of Death if they don't rout. And it's looking like they're deciding to hold. Let's see here. The Slann is being a pain too versus my Banshees. But it looks like we're setting up for a nice Winds of Death. See, so we get in there and hopefully this will finish them off. There's not a lot of space for them to pull through to. And maybe we'll even get some skinks too. Nice, and we do. So let's just group up these guys, pull Gorst away to safety. And hopefully we'll be able to goon out this Dread Saurian. We finally routed off all the infantry except for these ROR skinks. So I think we're set up to be in a pretty nice situation. Geez, a big banishment coming down though. We'll have to stay away from that. And I think our priority target here is taking out this Slann. Our single entities are best equipped to deal with him there. So they're going to pull back and move in onto him while our Blood Knights shut down the skink cohorts. Gorst will want more Winds of Magic, so we'll use the Liber Noctis. And these Crypt Horrors are actually doing a nice job keeping the Dread Saurian back, although that was not exactly intended by me and more of a lucky happenstance. Let's see. In fact, Banshees don't want to be fighting the Slann. They're instead going to be going for the Dread Saurian. And as soon as the Slann's down, I think we're fine. Let's get our Knights in around to charge these skinks. And we'll probably want to pull back some of these troops to make sure they don't get AoE'd in case that does happen. Our Banshees are extremely good versus large monsters like this. And given that they're at high HP, I think even with some lucky hits from the Dread Saurian, I think we will be just fine. Gorst will still want to stay out of range of it though. And instead, he's just going to be sitting back to give regeneration. The Slann now is getting really low with only a couple red-crested skinks left. Actually at 28 models. I guess they used their refuse to die. But I don't think that'll be enough for you, Lizardmen. I think we have this game done. Slann Priest is just about down. And even if the Dread Saurian does escape, we can chase it down with Vargulfs, no problem. Our Black Knights too. So this should be the end. Salon Mage Priest is now dead. And we can even kill off the rest of the skinks too. So we have more than enough mobility to win it here. And at this point, it's really just a bit of stalling. But we can bear through it, you know. I guess, in fact, at this point, you guys, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them while we close out this game. Is he going to draw kite me? Well, draw kite sort of assumes that he actually manages to finish kiting, but instead it looks like he's going to have the game crash. Oh my gosh, I think we didn't even overcast Nahek. Yeah, we crashed it with a normal Nahek. What is this? Oh my gosh. Well, note to self, don't even Nahek ever. Oh my gosh. What? Oh my geez. Well, so for our next game, and probably the last one, it's been a bit of a long day, we're going to be playing as the Empire. We've brought a single cannon to deal with weapon teams and bells and Skaven artillery, and we've opted for a sort of a Bretonia-esque build against Skaven, with some terror, flying terror, and single entity killing power, along with a very healthy amount of knights and 1 million archers. Perhaps even too many archers. We'll have to see. Yeah, maybe too many archers, but we do have knights to defend, and really it's just the Skaven dogs that scare me. If we see a lot of mortars too, that could be a problem. So we'll have to see. For our Skaven opponent Legion, they have brought an army of close to the same size. So I'm expecting they likely won't have too many single entities. So good luck, have fun to him. We'll be using our fireballs to pick away as much as possible. And our Empire Knights will be supporting our infantry a whole ton. Can afford to move up since this map is gigantic. And hopefully we can get started. So there we go. Let's see here, and immediately I'm seeing some Globadiers. Some skirmishers over here. Thought, a Packmaster, and this is a different Skaven build than you would usually see. Doomwheel on the left will need to get shadowed by Boris to make sure that it doesn't plow through my front lines, as Empire Knights definitely don't want to be fighting the Doomwheel. Now that these guys are in range, the cannon can begin firing. First at clan rats, and then after at those rat ogres. Our archers can reposition to flee from this flank coming in from the Skaven. And we can start sending fireballs in on that warlock engineer. He actually has quite a bit of armor though, so I'm not sure how much damage this will actually do. But let's see, we clip the rat ogres, which is nice, and it does a decent amount of damage. So let's start moving up our archers. We'll continue defending them with our knights, and we want to delay our infantry engagement as much as possible. That is sort of the that's the Bretonian way that you do with peasants. We're going to see if we can replicate that. Our knights can begin charging in and out of the Skaven front line, and Boris is going to get engaged on, but we have so much support here coming in from our ranged firepower that I think we'll be just fine. The wolves are nowhere to be seen. They're actually on the very far flank, so we're happy with that. It means that our archers can keep firing without really worrying. And our bright wizard now, you know what, he can send some fireballs down the length of these Skaven formations. So let's see how well that does. It actually doesn't do very well because our caster is actually getting picked off at this point. So he'll have to pull back to safety. And hopefully he'll live. Let's see, Boris gets a nice charge in on Throt. And our caster is now free to move in and support wherever he is needed. Let's see, our knights need to defend against those dogs. And we'll bring in some more knights here to really shut down Throt. We do not want Throt to be moving at all. And a burning head over there should help in the front line. Now the cannon, he actually goes for the cannon instead of the archers, which is a good play. Because, what's it? It's a good play because the archers would rout a lot slower than my artillery. Let's see here. Boris is actually still taking a lot of damage from Throt. That's a little bit worrying. And that Doom Wheel is doing a lot of damage too. But hopefully if we just cycle charge enough, we'll be able to shut down these two Brood Horrors. Another charge comes down, and you know what? It's probably better if we go for the Warlock Engineer instead. We should also bring in our archers to actually support this fight. And hopefully they'll be able to do okay. The Doom Wheel will get engaged on by Boris. And our knights are going to keep trying to run down these Brood Horrors, who have just been doing very well this game. Our archers will want to shoot them as much as possible too. And let's see how well Boris does. He's chasing the Doom Wheel, but he doesn't land a hit. But now with our archer support, I think we should be able to take down Throt. He's getting slowed down by infantry a lot. And if we can get Boris in there too, I think we'll be good. Our Empire Knights are also still doing alright. Chasing off some wolf rats in the distance. Let's see, I've actually lost track of one of my Empire Knights, which is a little bit bad. But we'll have to make do. Okay, there we go, I found them. So, let's see here. The Brood Horrors are actually surprisingly slippery, and they don't really die very quickly to Knights. But they do get shut down fairly hard by ranged power. In fact, the fireballs are extremely effective here. And our Bright Wizard might even be able to rout two of them off. Let's see here. He gets a shot in on Throt. But Throt finishes him off. So, rip Bright Wizard. Although he might still live, he is definitely down for the count. And yep, he does indeed get murdered. So, unfortunate there. But he did manage to rout off the hero. What's this guy? Chieftain? Packmaster. He did manage to rout off the Packmaster. So, I'll say good on him for doing that. Let's see here. This Warlock Engineer, too, has just been alive for much longer than he should be. So let's see if we can finally shut him down with Boris. And hopefully that goes okay. It could actually take a while, and I'm wondering if Boris would be better served going elsewhere. But it looks like he does a good job. So he does rout off the Engineer. And we don't want to overchase him, because we have some issues here that we need to deal with. For example, the Packmaster, who we've now managed to shoot to death. So it should just be Throt at this point. The cannon can finish off the can finish off the Packmaster. And we have actually done a bit of a misplay here, letting our range units get compromised. Will it matter though? Probably not, as soon as these single entities of the Skaven are out. So there we go, we've taken out the Doom Wheel. And with those units gone, I think Boris will likely be able to just carry out the win by himself here. The cannons do once again get shot down, get shut down by these wolf rats. But yeah, there's just nothing to deal with Boris, with all these single entities out of the battle. Oh man, so GG to Legion. Whoops, he said good luck, have fun. I thought that was a GG, so a little bit of an early call from me. I'm sure he'll understand. Let's take stock of this game. We used our knights to try and shut down Throt and the Packmaster, but they were surprisingly ineffective. what instead was surprisingly effective was our main archer core. It turns out archers do a lot of damage to brood horrors, and by protecting them for most of the game, they almost all paid for themselves, and some of them by huge margins. Like, this one unit of archers got 3 times its value that I put in, which is insane. We lucked out that there weren't any mortars too from Legion, and I suspect he didn't take any because he wanted to rush. If he had taken mortars, he would have had to defend them against 4 knights, which can be a little bit, can be pretty difficult. So, yeah, so it looks like it was indeed more of a rush build. And, yeah, from there, we really did just get a really nice build against his. And even after that, it was a close game. All right. So, yeah, that's about it for today. We've been streaming for maybe like an hour and a bit. Played quite a few games, crashed out of most of them. And hopefully that bug will get fixed in the future. But all that out of the way, thank you very much for watching. Thank you to all the followers today. We actually got quite a few. And I'll see you guys tomorrow, where we will be streaming a fun tournament. The Ranked Ladder Champions, or the top 8 of Ranked, will be joining in to play for a nice quick tournament at I think 1 p.m. EST. So tune in for that. I think some of you guys are even signed up there, so it should be very exciting. Peace.